You've been waiting on a miracle, praying for a breakthrough, hoping for the clouds to part and the light to shine down in one magnificent blaze of glory. But can I tell you something that may shake your spirit awake? It doesn't always happen in a blaze. Sometimes it begins with a whisper. Sometimes it starts with one small, seemingly insignificant step, a simple movement. We keep looking for the spectacular while ignoring the strategic. The enemy doesn't always need to destroy you. He just needs to keep you distracted, waiting for something grand, while the power to change your life lies in the small shift you keep putting off. That prayer you haven't prayed, that call you haven't made, that idea you keep writing down but never pursuing, that apology you've been meaning to say. These aren't just moments. These are movements. It's the decision to get up 5 minutes earlier and lay your day before God. It's the choice to drink water instead of drowning in another distraction. It's the discipline to open your Bible instead of scrolling through what everybody else is doing with their life. These movements don't make headlines, but they move heaven. These aren't random acts. They are small seeds being planted in the soil of destiny. You don't have to move the mountain. You just have to move your foot. God didn't ask you to leap into the deep without instruction. He said, take up your bed and walk. And the man didn't run. He didn't sprint. He walked. A simple movement after years of paralysis, years of being stuck, years of being looked over. But all it took was one movement of obedience to break the cycle. Some of us are stuck not because we're incapable, but because we've underestimated the power of small beginnings. We've bought into the lie that transformation has to be instant, dramatic, undeniable. But destiny is not always loud. It's often quiet, tucked inside tiny movements. It's in the space where no one is clapping for you. No one sees the effort. No one posts about it. But heaven is watching. The earth may not shift, but your spirit does. And that internal shift begins to shake everything around you. Don't despise the day of small movements. The small shift in your thinking, the small change in your habits, the small yes to the still, small voice of God calling you to move when it doesn't make sense. Because sometimes the thing that changes your life is not the door swinging open, but the hand that reached out to knock. You think you need more faith, but what you really need is movement. Faith without works is dead, and movement is the evidence of belief. If you believe he can change your situation, then move like it, talk like it, walk like it. Simple movements, one after the other, build the bridge from where you are to where God is calling you to be. And let me tell you, the enemy is terrified, not of your giant leaps, but of your quiet steps. He knows the power that lies in a made-up mind. He knows that once you start moving, the chains start breaking, the doors start opening, the oil starts flowing. He's not scared of your dream. He's scared of your discipline. So don't wait for the wind to blow or the earth to shake. Take the step. Make the call. Write the plan. Forgive the offense. Pray the prayer. Do the small thing. Because that small thing is not small to God. It's a sign of life. And life, when watered by obedience, always grows. The miracle you're waiting for might just be on the other side of one simple movement. We live in a world that worships the grand gesture. We celebrate the overnight success, the viral moment, the sudden spotlight. But real change, lasting, soul deep, unshakable change, doesn't come from one explosive act. It comes from the quiet, often invisible commitment to keep showing up. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to be consistent. It's not the fire that burns hot and fast that warms a house through the winter. It's the steady flame, the one that refuses to go out when no one is watching. That's what changes your life. The daily decision to move, even just a little. The discipline to keep going, even when the feeling is gone. It's the rhythm of showing up in prayer when answers haven't come. It's standing in faith when your legs are tired, when your heart is weary, when your soul wants to sit down. Intensity is attractive, but consistency is transformational. Anyone can shout in a moment of excitement, but can you whisper, yes, again and again when the room is silent, when the results are slow, when nobody notices? That's where growth lives, in the space between inspiration and obedience. That's where God does his deepest work, not in the loud, but in the loyal. You see, the enemy isn't afraid of a loud start. He's afraid of a faithful finish. That's why he attacks your routine, your habits, your discipline. Because he knows if you ever get consistent, if you ever keep moving without needing applause, if you ever wake up and do it again without seeing the reward, you become unstoppable. A seed doesn't need a spotlight. It needs soil and time. And too many of us abort the process because we don't see progress. But the roots grow before the fruit shows. That quiet movement you made yesterday, choosing peace instead of pettiness, reading truth instead of scrolling chaos, speaking life when your emotions screamed otherwise, that matters. That builds something. That stacks into a structure heaven can bless. God honors those who are faithful over little, not just those who are passionate for a moment. Passion fades. Emotions shift. But discipline carries you when the fire goes out. The blessing is not just in the big leap. It's in the daily walk. Step by step. Brick by brick. Morning by morning. You're not falling behind because your progress is slow. You're falling behind when you stop moving. That small motion. Reading one scripture, stretching your faith just a bit further, choosing gratitude one more time is proof that you still believe God can do something with your life. Don't discount that. Heaven doesn't. Your future isn't shaped by the size of your movement. It's shaped by the consistency of it. You don't need to run every day. Just don't stop walking. Keep choosing better, even if it's by an inch. Keep surrendering, even if it's just your thoughts. Keep believing, even when your faith feels fragile. Because faith that moves mountains usually starts with hands that move stones. So keep moving. Not perfectly, not loudly, but faithfully. There's power in the pattern. There's glory in the grind. You don't have to impress God. You just have to trust him enough to keep going. Even when it's boring. Even when it's thankless. Even when it's hard. Because that kind of movement, quiet, small, consistent, is what shakes the gates of hell and opens the windows of heaven. It's not intensity that builds the life you were born to live. It's consistency. The enemy can resist your shout, but he can't survive your steady step. Keep walking. Keep choosing. Keep moving. And watch God do the rest. We live in a generation addicted to speed. We want everything now. Healing now, success now, breakthrough now. But let me tell you, just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. Delay does not mean denied. You can't let the pause make you question the promise. Just because you haven't seen the harvest doesn't mean the seed is dead. It might just be growing underground. Sometimes God's silence isn't rejection, it's preparation. He's not ignoring you. He's aligning you. You're asking for the blessing, but he's building the strength to carry it. You're praying for the door, but he's preparing your hands to handle what's on the other side. And if you move too soon, you'll step into something your character can't sustain. So he delays, not to hurt you, but to hold you until the time is right. We get frustrated because we don't understand the process. But process is God's proving ground. He's not just working on the outcome. He's working on you. And while you wait, while you wonder if anything's happening, every act of faith becomes a brick laid on the path to your promise. Every small movement, every prayer, every act of obedience, every tear is counted, collected, and covered by his hand. You've got to trust his timing. Trust that even in delay, there's destiny. The waiting room is not a punishment. It's a place of preparation. And if you stay still long enough to listen, you'll hear God whisper, I'm still with you. He's not just the God of the suddenly. He's the God of the slow and steady. The God who moves in the mundane. The God who shows up in the in-between. Sometimes the movement he's asking for isn't a run or even a walk. It's the stillness of standing in faith when everything around you tells you to sit down and give up. Can you keep believing when there's no evidence yet? Can you keep sowing when there's no sign of rain? That's the kind of movement heaven honors, not the frantic, fear-driven motion, but the steady, surrendered trust that says, even if it takes longer than I thought, I'm not going anywhere. And here's what I know, every delay has a reason. What you call a setback, God calls setup. What feels like pause to you may be positioning for him. Because when it's time, when the appointed moment comes, what looked like delay becomes the launching point for everything he promised. And you'll realize that if he had answered too soon, you would have settled for less. That's why you can't stop moving. Maybe you're not moving fast, but you're still moving. Maybe you don't see the results yet, but you're still faithful. That's the movement that brings miracles. Not the flash, not the frenzy, but the faith to keep going even when nothing seems to be changing. You may be in a slow season, but slow is not stagnant, still is not stuck. Delay is not defeat. Don't let the devil convince you that God has forgotten you. God is never late. He's strategic. He's stretching your faith, building your patience, developing your endurance. Because what he has for you isn't just about now. It's about next. And if you'll keep moving in faith, your not yet will become a right now. So don't give up in the delay. Don't lose heart in the process. Keep making those small moves. Keep showing up in prayer. Keep choosing obedience. Keep forgiving. Keep hoping. Your delay is not your denial. It's just God writing your story with precision, not panic. And when he moves, he'll move suddenly. But you'll realize he was working all along. There will be days when your heart is heavy and your energy is low. Days when your faith feels like it's hanging by a thread and everything in you says, stay in bed. Don't try again. It doesn't matter anymore. But that's when movement matters the most. Not the big, you bold kind of movement, but the kind that happens when you choose to obey, even when you don't feel like it. Obedience has never been about emotion. It's about decision. and decisions shape destiny. Too many of us are waiting for the right feeling before we act. But what if I told you that the breakthrough isn't waiting on your feelings? It's waiting on your movement. Feelings come and go, but obedience remains. That's what God honors. You might not feel strong, but move anyway. You might not feel qualified, but move anyway. You might not feel inspired, but open your mouth and speak anyway. Because when you move despite how you feel, you show God that your faith is bigger than your mood. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. Not the loud faith, but the faithful kind. We keep looking for motivation when what we need is discipline. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the engine. You won't always feel like praying, but pray anyway. You won't always feel like forgiving, but forgive anyway. You won't always feel like showing up, but get up and go anyway. Your emotions are not your leader. Your spirit is. Jesus never promised that obedience would feel good. He promised it would bear fruit. And the fruit doesn't grow when you feel like planting. It grows when you plant anyway. The enemy knows if he can trap you in your emotions, he can stop you from your movement. He wants to convince you that you need to feel ready before you act. But God says, move now, and I'll meet you there. Faith is not about comfort. It's about commitment. If Jesus had followed his feelings, he would have avoided the cross. But he moved in the garden in agony, sweating drops of blood. He still said, not my will, but yours be done. That's movement. That's obedience. That's power. Some of your greatest transformations will begin on days you didn't feel like trying. That moment when you rolled out of bed anyway. That quiet decision to praise instead of complain. That small act of faith when your heart was breaking. Those are the movements that shift your future. Not because you felt powerful, but because you acted like you were connected to a power greater than how you felt. And don't think God needs your performance. He wants your participation. He doesn't require perfection. He requires movement. One step, one yes, one moment of surrender. That's all it takes to shift the atmosphere, to open the door, to change your life. So when the enemy whispers that you're too tired, too broken, too discouraged, move anyway. When you feel like you're running on empty, take the next step, because what you feel is not the full truth. Your feelings are real, but they're not always right. You may feel defeated, but you are more than a conqueror. You may feel forgotten, but God still knows your name. You may feel like nothing's changing, but something is shifting every time you obey. Your power is not in how loud you shout. It's in how deeply you trust. Trust enough to move when your flesh says quit. Trust enough to believe that obedience opens doors feelings never could. And when you move, just a little, just enough, heaven takes notice. Grace rushes in. Strength fills the gap. And God does what only he can do. So move, even when you don't feel it. Because that's where miracles begin. Cycles don't break by accident. They don't end because time passed or because we wish they would. Cycles break when something shifts, when somebody chooses to do what's never been done before. When a person, tired of being tired, decides to make one different move. It doesn't take a parade, it takes a pivot. Just one act of courage, one refusal to repeat the past, one decision to forgive, to love, to rise, can break what's been holding generations in bondage. You don't need to tear down the whole wall today. You just need to pull one brick. You don't need to dismantle the entire cycle overnight. Just move in a new direction. That's how it starts. That's how chains break, one link at a time. You're not powerless. You are not stuck. You've just been repeating patterns that feel familiar. But familiarity doesn't equal freedom. And today can be the day you move. Move with your words. Speak what's never been spoken in your bloodline. Instead of cursing, speak blessing. Instead of criticism, speak hope. Instead of silence, speak healing. That's a movement. It might feel small, but it's powerful. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. And sometimes the way you end a cycle is not by raising your volume, but by changing your vocabulary. Move with your choices. Choose forgiveness where your family chose bitterness. Choose love where the past chose pride. Choose to say eyes to God even when fear is screaming no. These are the moments that rewrite legacies. These are the movements that reroute generations. Don't underestimate the power of one simple no to what broke you. That no is a yes to healing. Cycles thrive in silence, but movement, intentional, spirit-led movement, makes noise in the spirit realm. When you step out of what's been holding you, heaven stands up. When you take one faithful step away from addiction, from fear, from shame, from resentment, the atmosphere begins to shift. Your children feel it. Your future feels it. Your lineage begins to heal from a move nobody else even saw. Maybe nobody in your family ever got free. Maybe nobody ever showed you how to be whole. But you're here. You're hearing this. And that means you're chosen to be the one who moves differently. The one who prays when it's easier to panic. The one who stays when it's easier to run. The one who heals instead of hides. You are not weak for wanting different. You are strong for refusing to settle. Don't wait for everything to change before you move. Move so that everything can change. Don't wait for the feelings, the resources, the perfect timing. You may not have the full plan, but you have the power to make a move. The enemy has tried to convince you that nothing you do matters. But that's a lie, because heaven knows the moment you decided to break the cycle, and God honors it. This is not just about you. It's about everyone connected to your name. Your obedience has ripple effects. Your movement shifts the atmosphere for people you haven't even met yet. You think it's just a small choice, but that choice is opening a door your children will walk through. That one act of faith is planting seeds your grandchildren will harvest. So break the silence, break the rhythm, break the routine. And if the door doesn't open, kick the wall. Don't go back to what broke you just because it's comfortable. Move, even if it's only by an inch, because cycles don't break by chance. They break when someone dares to move differently. Let that someone be you. There is a shift that happens the moment you realize you're not alone in this. That you weren't designed to move through life isolated, hidden, or carrying everything on your own shoulders. Some breakthroughs don't come from praying harder or pushing further. They come from opening your mouth, reaching out, letting someone in. Healing often begins with the courage to connect. It's easy to stay in the dark. Shame makes it feel safer to stay quiet. Pride makes it feel braver to stay strong. But God didn't create you to heal in hiding. He created you to be whole in community. There's power in connection, power in vulnerability, power in saying, I need help, I don't know, or pray for me. That's not weakness, that's movement. And sometimes that's the most courageous move you can make. We've been trained to wear masks, smile through the pain, quote scriptures over wounds we've never allowed to breathe. But covering it doesn't cure it, and isolation only deepens what we're trying to hide. You don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to act like you're okay when you're breaking. There is healing in being known. And sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is be honest. There's a reason scripture says we're many parts of one body. A hand can't survive on its own. An eye can't see without being connected. You were made to be part of something. Your strength isn't just in your prayer life or your discipline. It's in your connections. God will send people, resources, voices to help you move. But you have to be willing to open the door. Some of the answers you've been praying for are already around you, but isolation has kept you from seeing them. You've been asking God to speak, but He sent a friend. You've been waiting for a sign, but He sent someone who checked on you. Don't ignore divine help because it didn't show up how you expected. God uses people to move us forward. Yes, it's risky to open up. Yes, it's scary to trust again. But healing requires exposure. You can't clean what you keep covered. You can't grow in the dark. So maybe your movement today isn't going faster or working harder. Maybe your movement is opening your heart, picking up the phone, asking someone to pray with you. Maybe it's joining a circle, finding a mentor, going to therapy, showing up in a space where healing can flow. There's a weight that lifts when you realize you're not the only one fighting this fight. Others have walked this road and made it through. And they're not just here to inspire you, they're here to walk with you, to remind you that you're not crazy, you're not too far gone, you're not weak because you need help. You're human, and humans were made for connection. The enemy wants to isolate you because he knows how powerful you are when you're connected. He knows that when 2 or 3 gather in his name, heaven shows up. He knows that iron sharpens iron. That one can chase 1,000, but 2 put 10,000 to flight. He knows that healing is often one conversation, one confession, one prayer away. So stop believing the lie that you have to do this by yourself. Stop thinking that strength means silence. Move toward connection. Move toward community. Move toward truth. Because when you let someone else stand with you, you're not weaker, you're stronger, you're wiser, you're free. Don't just move to fix yourself. Move to find your people. Move to be known, to be seen, to be loved as you are. That simple step of reaching out might be the beginning of everything changing. Because sometimes the miracle is not just in the movement. It's in who you move with.